Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
Good evening, a very pleasant good evening to the listeners of VON Radio, coming to you from the metropolis of Bath Village, St. John's Parish, Nevis. Tonight, I will be sitting in as your host tonight, and I want to say a very pleasant good evening to our usual host, Mr. Everett Weber Herbert. I hope that he is taking some much needed rest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the Let's Talk Show. This is your show. And if you feel that this is a show that you would like to participate in, the good folks here at Von Radio are asking that if you so wish, you can pen the note to the management and staff here at Von Radio. You can address it to the Let's Talk program in care of Von Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown, Nevis, and they will certainly be more than willing to accommodate you. Or if you prefer, you can call 469-1616 or 469-1700. And it so happens that those will be the numbers that you can call in tonight if you want to be a part of this program. I would hasten to add that when you call, please do not seek to denigrate anyone or do not seek to bring the show into any disrepute by assassinating anyone's character. But I hope that you can call in, make your point forcefully, and participate in this show. Tonight I want to thank the good folks here at One Radio for the invitation, and I am certainly looking forward to the discussion tonight. Roger Fifield, good night.
Good night, Mr. Brand, and good night to the listening and viewing audience, and of course, good night to my fellow panelist, Mr. Naya Liebert. Mr. Brand, tonight I want to send out a birthday greeting to a very, very special, I want to say young lady, a phenomenal lady, one who is a tower of strength, not only in the Gingerland area, but on the island of Nevis, and I dare say in the Federation and further afield. Mr. Brand, I'm speaking of none other than Miss Jennifer Freeman. Happy birthday, Miss Freeman. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I hope that you are enjoying your day, and the Lord would bless you with many, many more long and healthy life. Miss Freeman. I also want to say special good evening to those who might be mourning a loss of a loved one, a friend, or maybe a co-worker. Sympathy greetings to you. I hope that the Lord may be a pillar of strength to you and your family, those who are mourning. As I often say, Mr. Brand, this program is a program that we can learn from you, the audience, and of course, you can learn something from us. Hence, I'm asking you to call in to the radio station, make your point, make your contribution, and we could you can engage us and have a wonderful program tonight. I'm thankful for the invitation yet again, and I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion this evening, Mr. Brand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger. And Conrad Naya Liebert. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Brand, and good evening, Roger, and good evening to the hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio, to our host who seems to be absent tonight. A special good evening to you, Mr. Herbert, and to the old soldiers of this wonderful program, Mr. Hobson, and I almost say Edric Stanley, but tribute always to Edric and tribute always to Mr. Hobson for their great contribution to this program, and to, of course, the discussion that of course shaped the landscape politically, socially, and economically of Nevis. Of course, we are coming to the end of another beautiful day here in Nevis, and it's always a pleasure to reflect on the beauty that surrounds us in this little beautiful island, and the peace and tranquility which we enjoy so much. It's always a good thing to be here at Vaughan Radio every Tuesday night to engage in the discussions that affect the people locally, regionally, and internationally. I hope in doing so that we sometimes bring some kind of clarity to issues affecting the people, bring some hope to those who sometimes feel bewildered by everyday circumstances, and sometimes bring deep thought to people in terms of where we are going and how we're going to get there, and also, bring some inspiration to some people who feel like they sometimes just doesn't have the drive to go forward. I hope once again tonight we can bring such clarity, we can bring such solutions, and like my colleagues have said, the program is our program, it's you the public, so you can call in, and as I always say, we got no monopoly on knowledge or ideas, so we will always like to interact with the public to hear what they're saying on the various topical issues. I want to say thank you to the staff and management of Vaughan Radio once again for having me on another Tuesday night, and I do hope that we will enjoy a good and fruitful discussion tonight. Mr. Brand, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Naya. And I want to join with Roger and offer birthday greetings to someone who I consider to be a champion lady, Jennifer Freeman. And she has been one of those individuals who would have frequented this show and have given yeoman service in our community and here in the Gingerland area, and I would even dare say throughout the length and breadth of Nevis. And I want to wish her a very happy birthday this evening, and I am almost certain that she is listening, so I want to wish her the very best of birthdays. Gentlemen, I want to turn to and offer some condolences, greetings to a very good friend of the CCM party, one Fitzroy Warner. It is no secret that Fitzroy was, in my mind, a champion in the St. James's area when it came to the political discourse here on the island of Nevis. I want to offer my very deepest condolences to his entire family, his children. I know that the loss has been a shock It was certainly a shock to me when I heard the news that Fitzroy had passed. He is someone who would have provided great service here on the island of Nevis in the heavy equipment field, and he has always been busy in trying to build our island, in trying to persuade people to do good work here on the island of Nevis. I believe that he would be an individual that will be greatly missed by his entire family, by the CCM party, and certainly by the parish of St. James's, and I would even dare say the entire federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. He was, no secret, a dialysis patient here, and he would have frequent the travels over to St. Kitts to get those dialysis treatment. And I believe that he would be the first to say to you that while he would have had to make those trips, he still rather that he lives here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I want to offer my very deepest condolences to the entire family on the loss of Fitzroy. I know that we have had quite a number of funerals over the last few weeks, and I know that there are quite a number of other families here who are still mourning. I want to say to all of those families as well who are in mourning that I hope that they can remember their loved one with fond memories. I know that death is something that I believe that all of us would have to embrace at some point on this journey, and I hope that while we reflect on those who would have made that transition over the last few weeks, that we must also look at our own immortality, so to speak, and reflect on where we are in that scope. So I want to put that in, and I also want to say to all those who are celebrating as well, whether it's a birthday or an anniversary or some accomplishment in their lives, I hope that they are having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening tonight. Now, gentlemen, I want you to bear with me for a moment, because I want to put in the public domain some information that was released this afternoon from the Department of Education as it relates to a notice of temporary closure. And if you will permit me, I want to read it, because I think that it's a very important public announcement. And I think that we come here on a Tuesday night where we try to provide to the general public as much pertinent information as we possibly can. Here it is. The Department of Education, acting on the advice of health officials, wishes to inform the general public of the temporary closure of the following institutions due to health concerns. 1. The Gingerland Preschool, and 2. Grades 1 and 2 of the Violet O. Jeffels Nichols Primary School. This closure will be for a period of 10 days and is a precautionary measure in response to confirmed cases of hand, foot and mouth disease. During this time, comprehensive sanitation of the affected facilities will be conducted to ensure a safe and healthy environment for our students and staff upon their return. We kindly remind parents and guardians to keep children who are unwell at home. This practice is critical in reducing the spread of illness and ensuring the health and well-being of all. We thank you for your understanding and cooperation as we work together to maintain a safe learning environment for our children. And that is the end of the press release or public service announcement that was placed in the public domain today as it regards to the notice of temporary closure. Now, gentlemen, I don't know if you want to continue on that or we can go to something else, but as I pick that up today. I thought I would bring it to the public. But I just want to add that I want to encourage our people that the intervention or the revelation, so to speak, that we now have hand, foot and mouth disease here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis obviously is cause for concern. It is affecting our children, and children by nature perhaps not thinking in terms of the level of sanitation and washing their hands and so on, and keeping their hands out of their face and off their bodies and so on. But I want all of us who are around children to try as much as possible to encourage them to wash their hands, to do the things that are necessary to protect themselves and to protect other children. I believe it was just last week where we may have had another situation where we have had some temporary closures in terms of this particular situation. So it is around. I want the parents and guardians to pay closer attention to their children. If you see that there are any signs of this particular illness, that you can deal with it as quickly as possible, so you can help to bring some relief to our children, and also try and protect other children who are around those children who may be affected. Roger, I don't know if you want to take a go at it, and then we can move on to something else.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Brand. But Mr. Brand, with your permission, if I can just back up a bit, and I also want to extend my sympathy and condolences to the family of Mr. Fitzroy Warner. Fitzroy was a really, really close friend of mine, Mr. Brand. He always encouraged me to do my best to get the best out of me. I would miss him for that. He was one who believed in me, and I really appreciated that. He was one who was so kind-hearted. You know, we all know that he had the renal disease, and he was one, although he was going through his pain, he would always look out for the others that would travel with him on a weekly basis over to St. Kitts for dialysis. And you know, some of us may not know, but as I said, he always looked out for all of the others, you know, in whatever way he could have. And I want to really express my deepest sympathy to the family, and not just to the family, but to the Nivision public, because he will be sorely missed by all, I dare say. Mr. Brand, the foot and mouth disease is with us. It is no longer that we hope that it doesn't reach our shores. It has reached our shores, and we have to do all in our powers to prevent it from spreading rapidly and widely throughout the length and breadth of Nevis. I believe that it is wise, it was a wise decision for both the education department and the health officials to close those particular schools that have been affected by this disease. Some may ask why, but we do know that this disease especially affects younger children more so than adults. So no doubt that is why you would have heard that, for instance, at the VOGen primary school, grade 1 and 2, I think that were the classes that you called,
yes,
you know, have been closed. And you know, the Gingerland preschool, I think you would have also said. And they have not just taken action just to close the school, but they would have said to us, the officials would have said to us, to give us some comfort that they would be doing some deep cleaning, deep sanitation and stuff like that. So in a matter of 10 days, children can now go back to school, and when we look at it, more holistically, it affects not just the children, but parents. Now we would realize that parents may have to take off time from work to stay with the affected child or children, as the case may be, at home. And this comes at a time to the second school term, where we dubbed sports term.
Yep.
This is a term that most schools, are preparing for the annual sports day. So I'm not sure if this foot and mouth disease was to get out of control, how much of an effect it would have on the schools, the sports days, etc. Bearing in mind that the first Wednesday in April annually is the big inter-primary school competition. So I want to say to the Nivision public that the education department and the health officials, I think that they are reasonably proactive in that they would have closed the schools as mentioned, and they are now in the process of doing deep cleaning so as to stop the spread of this dreadful disease, Mr. Brand. Mr. Brand, I believe also that it gives us a time as parents, as teachers, to reflect, as administrators, the health officials, the education department, how can we lay out our classrooms? Should we, the spacing in the various classrooms, should the desks, sometimes you go in classrooms, for example, and some of the desks are spaced to the back of the class. There's some space to the back of the class. So should the desks, maybe go back some more so you get more spacing? Should we have sanitizers like the day of COVID? When the children comes into the class, they are sanitized. When they leave, upon returning, they are sanitized and stuff like that. Probably, this is something that we probably need to continue to do in order to, curtail the spread of this dreadful disease. I'll pause for now.
Naya?
Of course, it's the responsibility of the administration of any government, central authority, to ensure that the spread of deadly diseases should not take root in our country, in our communities. And the worst place to start is in the school, affecting the young students who, of course, are the future of this beautiful island. And so I am in support of that move 100%, and I wonder if it was not necessary to close the whole school. But whatever it takes, I suppose they should certainly ensure that any doubts remain in doubt as to the infected areas should be totally erased by the actions of the government, really, to ensure that this disease does not spread to the household or to the other classes in the school. I've heard about it. I have not actually looked into it in a deep way to realize the effect and symptoms and everything else. But if it's necessary to close the school, why not? Of course, I am in support of that move, and I would be in support of any move, even to extend it to the entire school if it's necessary. About my friend, I would call him a friend, Fizoy. Quite a lively chap, a businessman. Even though he was going through his illness, he was always an optimist, a person who tended to lift his spirit above what he was enduring. And yes, I want to extend my condolences to his family. I've heard about his passing just a few days ago, and I felt really bad, and that feeling have totally engulfed me at the moment. And because it's not an easy thing. My first show, or my first program, way back in 2008, if not 2007, I spoke about a dialysis machine for Nevis. I had to then, because a family member of mine had to move to St. Lucia to actually live there, and then she finally passed in St. Lucia. And I was asking then why we have not had, or why it's not possible for Nevis to have its own dialysis machine. 16 years, 17 years after, I'm asking the very same question. It may seem, or it may be communicated in a way that it's quite convenient and easy to go to St. Kitts, but I'm telling you, it is not easy for those who suffer from the illness to having to go to St. Kitts 2, 3, and 4 times per week. I don't care what no one tell me. It is full time that such procedure should be taking place here in Nevis. Once upon a time, I think the NRP administration brought a dialysis apparatus here. It was in a container.
I believe, Naya, hold one moment. Sorry to interrupt you. I believe we have a call online.
Blessed night, brother. How about?
Good evening. This is Spencer Bryan. Go ahead, please.
Greetings and love. I was supposed to call in tonight on this program to give an update on the celebration for the 90th anniversary marking the Buckley's Uprising.
Yes, go ahead.
And my name is Ras Aya from the Nyabingi Tiakosiado. We are here on the grounds in Buckley's in the vicinity of the West Bastia area. And we are here to climax of the sacrifice that made in 1935. And we are doing this commemoration to mark the ancestors of those who were able to get killed, and those who were injured, and those who were jailed in that process in 1935 of the Buckley's Uprising that created the catalyst of change in the British West Indies. So we have our team emphasizing on the movements towards of this 90th anniversary within the Buckley's Uprising. So the team is stated as reflection after 90 years of the Buckley's Uprising, a catalyst for change in the British West Indies. So within that aspect, we have seen our format of bring out the program to help enhance the political parties. We had invited members of the political party, the leaders them, from both St. Kitts and Nevis. So your representation from the CCM party should be over here, which means none of that come forward. And even on the NRP, we ain't see none of that they come forward, but we still are going forward to make sure that in this further of this moment, we ain't left no one at all within this celebration. because we are making it to be no political format. We are looking at it as a national fund, and this is the emphasis of what the Nyabinghi Theocracy are doing generally from since you take up the initial of acknowledging our ancestors of the 1935 Buckley Uprising.
Caller, before you go, let me first of all congratulate you in leading this celebration. Let me ask you a question quickly though. Do you feel that after 90 years of the Buckley's Uprising and the sacrifices that have been made, that you feel that the people here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the region have seen the level of benefits and progress that they would have envisioned at that Buckley's Uprising?
And the aspect, some of the things are not fully concerned between what was stated for the movements to really rise. And when we say the movements, we're talking about the movements in the aspect of the Workers' League that emphasized it in 1932.
Yes.
And then 3 years after the 1932, there is where the uprising emphasizing creating, we have to see the condition of 101 years just after the 1834 of the proclamation that was made, as they say, the emancipation of the slave trade. So we still have a lot to really be thankful, but we still have a lot to really work for the betterment of our future, of our youth.
All right, thank you very much, and I hope you continue to have a wonderful evening and a wonderful celebration as you partake in this 90th anniversary.
And to your brother Spencer Brand, tell the members of the CCM party that if one cannot be there, they must be able to send somebody in a representation, because we're not discarding no one. And as I said earlier, this is not a political fund. This is a national fund, and we are putting it always on the burner. I don't care who administration in. This is what we will be focusing on, that we have a national holiday, and we have it engaged into the curriculum of our education system, so we can see our youth them know the value of this uprising stating to not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but to the English-speaking Caribbean, and even with further apart of this Latin and Central America, where Belize in particular were able to have these kind of momentum in the change of unionism, and now we see now how the political spectrum have come after these status. So I see that we still able to have great emphasis in this stand of responding to one another for the well-being, for unification of our ancestors being acknowledged in that way, and be as national heroes and heroes in this time. Give thanks.
Give thanks. Thank you very much.
All right.
Naya, I believe we interrupted you.
Yeah, and still I would want to say, really to the brethren them in St. Kitts who are doing this commemoration. It's a worthwhile commemoration, and it's unfortunate that the invited personnel from the various political parties, some of them did not make it. But of course, sometimes these things are not in the uppermost of their minds, and so they'll be absent, and I'm sure you had room for that. But it's good that you guys are inspired to continue with the celebration, and you got my full support and respect in that gesture. So going back to the dialysis machine, I was saying that the political party and NRP bought the dialysis machine. It was in a container back then, and I was told that I think politics got involved in a big way. I was told that there was no one here qualified to operate the machine. I want to know if that situation still exists. Not to operate that particular machine that was bought back then. I'm sure it's probably not even good at this point. Which I consider to be a massive wastage. But I'm asking the question, did we actually send anyone to be trained in that respect? Is the notion that it is too expensive to operate here on Nevis still exists, which I just can't believe that. because it's not comfortable really. It is not it's a huge inconvenience. I know I once lived in England and I had a close friend who was going through the same illness, had to go for dialysis, and he lives a normal life. He lives a normal life. He go for dialysis in the morning and go to work, and go to the dialysis the next day, and then go to work. But we realize that the people from Nevis who suffer from this illness have to actually lose a lot of time traveling over to St. Kitts and to be treated, and then they basically lose time, lose hours, lose money. They cannot really fulfill that complete working day like most people can, and the illness is that type of illness where you can perform, you can go to work, and so just to highlight one of the obvious inconvenience of not having a machine on Nevis, it is to me almost well, not almost, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate when politics get in the way of people's health. A certain circumstance seems to arise, and reasons sometimes are put forward, which after a time really they become vaporized in a sense, because it simply does not make any sense. I don't know if all the little islands around Nevis have a dialysis machine. Why Nevis cannot have a dialysis machine? Or am I to just shut up and accept the fact that it won't be, and we will always have to cross shark-infected waters on a daily basis, the people of Nevis, to be treated for this illness? It's almost like an embarrassment, because the Nevis people are very intelligent. Back then, the talk about there was no one qualified. After 18 years, I'm sure there are many who are qualified, or if not, we got to blame the politicians then, because to me this is a machine that it should be on the spot. When I was ill in St. Kitts the other day, I was at the ICU in St. Kitts, and one of those patients visited me from Nevis, and I felt more sorry for him than even myself at that point. As I said before, it just made me cry, because I just cannot understand why something so serious is being, to me, taken so lightly by the central administration. I say lightly because there are many of us now, or many of those patients that goes to St. Kitts, and it is sometimes washed away under the sink in political soapry, I suppose, and the issue becomes so political that we cannot talk about it. It is highly desirous for Nevisians to have a functional dialysis machine here on Nevis, and I hope my words will resonate with those who are responsible. I say tribute to Fitzroy and so many who have to make that journey, sometimes every day over the waters. Maybe if there was one in Nevis, our friend Fitzroy might have been alive today. But the immediate attention cannot be given when one is in St. Kitts and none is in Nevis, and the patient is in Nevis. Sometimes you need that immediacy and the immediate treatment. And so we continue to suffer. Nevisians continue to suffer due to the lack of a dialysis machine here on Nevis. And I hope people just doesn't view what I'm saying as some political orientated talk, because that's what happens sometimes. I'm begging again, please, to the authorities that exists in that respect, to please get a dialysis machine here on Nevis, so that Nevisians can be treated and live somewhat a wholesome life, because they're supposed to be able to. and after being dialysis, after being, treated. And that just doesn't happen for our Nevis people. It is a sort of thumb. It is inconvenient within the health system, massive inconvenient, and it shouldn't be happening at this point. As I said, since 2008, I've been talking about it, and there have been many talk about it. People say they went to Guyana and they would be getting 4 or 5 machines, all kind of thing. But the fact remains that today, 2025, Nevisians still have to go to St. Kitts to be treated, and that is totally unacceptable.
Thank you, Naya. I want to say to you, Naya, that dialysis and healthcare in general is not being taken lightly here on the island of Nevis. While I will not necessarily disclose the assistance that the government offers, not only to dialysis patients but to persons who are from time to time are in general need of additional medical care, we do provide some significant assistance.
I'm aware of that.
Great.
I'm aware of that.
The unit that you speak of, I am fully aware that will be a component in the expanded hospital. You ask if there were persons who have been trained. I stand to be corrected. I believe over the years there have been some persons who have been trained in dialysis, in preparation and all of that. So it is not something, Naya, that the government is ignoring. It is something that I am fully aware of is front and center in the broader scope of our healthcare initiative and our healthcare program. We do not, you are correct, we do not necessarily physically have that unit here on the island, but over the years the NIA would have provided significant assistance to those persons who have to travel to get that kind of care. I want to segue, Naya, just one. I omitted to mention something earlier, and I wanted to also note the passing of Sharon Hamilton of Rollins Village. She was the sister of Trudy Prentice, I think, and this is a lady who would have given many years in the special education unit here on the island of Nevis. And from what I know of special education, and I've visited the unit there in what do you call it, Brownhill, Prospect area. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a unique set of understanding to deal with special education children, special needs children, and Miss Hamilton would have exhibited those unique and special qualities over the years. And I want to place on record from this rostrum our deepest condolences to the entire family on her passing. I believe that she was also one of those trailblazers who, in my mind, was kind of fearless in taking on this kind of challenge. When in a small island, you were difficult to find people to do this kind of work, and I believe that she would have put her hands up. She would have done some yeoman service in this field, And we really want to say thanks to her and to her family for the kind of stewardship that she would have given in this particular regard. I know it would be a great loss to the family, and it would definitely be a great loss too, because she was almost like a resource person, so to speak, in this field. So my deepest condolences to her, to the entire family on her passing, and she, I believe, would very much be remembered for the kind of work that she would have done with our special needs children here on the island of Nevis. Roger.
Yes, Mr. Brand, I also want to, express my condolences to the family of Miss Hamilton. We all knew her to be a hard-working person at the Cicely Grell Integrated School. One who was really dedicated and, showed up to work, not necessarily to get a pay, but showed up to work because of the love and the care that she had in her heart for children with special needs. And I want to say once again, condolences to the family.
Well, I'm not very good with names. I must apologize for that, right? I'm not good with names, and sometimes even the faces trick me. But anyone who, as you said, Mr. Brand, works with special needs has something challenging to deal with, really. And but it must be done. And I would join you guys in extending my condolences to the teacher, even though I cannot really, bring a face. I don't want to say I don't know the individual, but I sometimes, as I say, names does. But I think anyone who is in that field is doing something major, because those little individuals who are in some ways, not be able to function like the everyday and what we call the normal kids. To deal with them is quite challenging, and to deal with them, it takes a special quality. And to do that over a number of years, obviously, you would have had that special quality, something which of course is not too widespread. So I would like to say thank you, to the lady, and thank you to the family, for offering support, because those individuals sometimes are so committed, and we oftenly overlook those who sometimes give them that little encouragement, because sometimes it's not even what they earn, but it's that sense of responsibility and that sense of wanting to make better of individuals. They are motivated by. And so I just want to say thank you from the microphone radio to the young lady, or the lady.
All right, gentlemen, I want to move on to another topic very briefly. I don't know if you gentlemen listened to the Premier's press conference today, and I thought it was a marathon, actually, from just a little bit after 10 o'clock until I believe it was just after 1 o'clock. I want to say to the Premier that I hope he's taking his multivitamins to be on his feet 3 hours, and but I wanted to a few things at that press conference which I wanted to perhaps dig a little deeper in, and one of the areas that I thought perhaps we can maybe look at a little deeper the Premier would have highlighted the return in national diaspora investment policy. And I know, Naya, that from time to time you would often say that when you go to St. Kitts, there is a lot of activities in St. Kitts, and there is a buzz in St. Kitts, and Nevis is somewhat. I don't know, Naya, if you would have heard what he would have said as it regards to the return in national and diaspora policy. But I just wanted to ask if you gentlemen would have listened, if you think or you feel that that is an initiative that I feel would garner some interest in the diaspora, that would spur some of that, or create some interest, so to speak, in some of our people in the diaspora who can create or bring some added value, so to speak, to our island. Naya, I'm going to allow you to go at it first, and if you
Yes, I read about it in the newspaper. I'm a newspaper guy. You know, it may sound old-timeish, but I always buy a newspaper. Sometimes I buy it and I will just read one thing. But yes, I was able to read, you know, that about that initiative, and I said, why not? Why not? It's a good initiative, and the incentives offered. To me, are not really, what could I say, excessive, because of course, you know, when we think of foreign investors, we sometimes think otherwise. But there are a lot of Nevisians out there who would like that little push, that little initiative, that little incentive. To bring them back here. I read the newspaper, and I can't remember the exact details in terms of incentives and so forth, but it struck me as a good initiative, because in these times when you know, foreign so-called foreign investors are scarce, and sometimes we got to try other avenues, and why not? It's a part of the creative thinking that is desirous and is necessary to find ways and means going forward. We would like to see, and in reading that information, I also thought of the initiative that was brought forward back then with university students and everything else. I'm not sure how that is going, but I compliment the administration to be, you know, thinking outside the box. Even though it's not entirely outside the box, this is something worthwhile doing, to encourage Nevisians to come back and invest in Nevis. I mean, they are the most rightful people to be doing that, really, knowing that it would be, of course, you know, benefiting generation. These are people who has family here. These are people who have a major nexus to Nevis. These are people who will be more committed to Nevis and the good of Nevis people than any foreign investors, who a lot of them, you know, more on the exploitation of what we have here and the people. But I think an initiative that involves Nevisians coming back home and invest and working in partnership with the government, I think it's good creative thinking. It's good creative thinking. I do hope that we can get some fishes to bite the bait and you know, lay down an example that would be followed by others. At the same time, of course, there will be those who are concerned that we here are not getting such incentives. Why them? But it is important to me for us to build this island, build the population, build Nevisians, because we see a lot of people in Nevis, but to me, everyone have their own seclusion, seclusion, put it that way. The Spanish seems to have their own thing going on. They don't mix up too much with others. The Jamaicans seems to have their own thing going on. They don't seem to mix up too much. The Guyanese, the Indians have their own thing going on. Well, I want to see the growth of Nevis and Nevis populations and Nevisians incentives and so forth. Building the island is very important. Building the economy is very important to this little island. Having more happening, as you say, I always complain, is what I want to see. And of course, it's a great initiative, and I hope that we will get some people on board. And I get the impression the government is willing to work with them and to partnership with them and to make it a little more easier, because it's been said that Nevis is one of the islands that is very difficult to start business here, and which is true. Too much red tape, and sometimes people just react very slow. And I hope we can have that kind of attitude be set aside, and a more aggressive, accommodating attitude, to support, this initiative, because it's a good initiative. But people would get fed up, if that atmosphere is not created, if reactions are not quick enough, if these things are not happening, people will get fed up, because they're in America. They maybe they're doing okay, and why bothered if it's a little too difficult? So I hope, even though the initiative is a good initiative, the accommodative attitude and that quick reaction that they expect, and that type of things can be happening, and make it work, because there is no one who is better to develop Nevis than Nevisians, and we must of course look into that avenue and make it happen.
Mr. Brand, if I can chime in here.
Sure.
Thank you. I believe that any government, any party in government must be proactive. They must be able to think outside the box. How can we create an environment that benefit the populace? And I believe that the CCM-led administration would have gone to work, would have knocked heads and come up with this idea. I believe I would have read somewhere, I'm not certain that I heard, I was listening on and off, but I would have read somewhere. I think that this initiative would go right down to grandparents, if you have roots, I think, and I believe that this would bring back or encourage persons to come back and invest. And if persons could come back and invest, bearing in mind that I think the alien land licenses would be waived, a portion of it, a percentage of it would be waived and stuff like that. I think that is an incentive that could attract persons to Nevis, and hopefully indeed it would attract persons. When we seek to expand our economy, when we try to diverse, it could only result in betterment for the island. So I'm hoping that it would get traction, and persons in the diaspora could grasp it with all hands on deck, and take full advantage of it. More persons would gain employment. It's not that I'm saying that persons are not employed here in Nevis. there are many persons in Nevis who have more than one jobs at present. But of course, if there is more employment, especially employment that persons could get, higher wages, higher salaries, it would mean that, the disposable income would be better. Super stuff would be coming off of the supermarket shelves, more frequently, in and out. The rate of turnover, I believe, is really good for the businessman. They want to see things come in and out of the shelf, off of the shelf, at a rapid pace, and that is what I believe would, increase profits. So we are hoping that it would work, and I'm really happy that the government didn't really sit on their laurels and and say things might be hard and what can we do. You are in a position to do things and create and give incentives for persons, investors, locals, foreigners alike, to come to our island to start a business and to make Nevis a better place. So kudos to the government.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now I want to highlight a few of those areas very quickly, because for persons who may have missed the press conference today, I thought it's important enough to highlight just a few of those areas. The administration has approved the establishment of a dedicated unit to deal with all aspects relating to the returning national diaspora investment policy. This unit, which is attached to the Ministry of Finance, will act as a direct liaison for those wishing to return to Nevis, thus providing a one-stop shop for issues associated with their returns. Now, that is the first area that I want us to look at, where the proposal is that a special unit would be created within the ambits of the Ministry of Finance to deal with this. So, Naya, I know you said that there is too much red tape, and I believe, and the thinking is that this particular unit would try and mitigate against that quote-unquote lot of red tape that we speak about. We also have heard the argument that perhaps the local businesses are not necessarily getting the kind of incentives that this particular returning national and diaspora investment policy is receiving. I know that it was also reported today, because we have also looked at that, and we recognize that while we are seeking to offer our citizens in the diaspora an opportunity to return, we also have to give some credence to, or some added advantage, so to speak, to some of the local businesses, the small businesses here on the island. And we have committed that we will, in very short order, publish a similar incentive package to our businesses, local businesses, small businesses here on the island of Nevis. A few other areas that I wanted to highlight. I know a lot of people always say that customs just normally squeeze a lot out of us even before we start the business, right? So the policy is proposing that customs duty exemption on the importation into Nevis of all used personal items. So if you are returning home and you are bringing all of your used personal items, you just say what they are and you just tell Mr. Fifield, have a nice day.
Mr. Brown, there's a policy in place already.
I know.
Returning nationals.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And to be a returning national, first and foremost, you must be, of course, as it said, a national.
Yes.
Living abroad for 10 or more years. And, of course, when you return, you'll have to apply to the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
You would give them your listing. They would sign off on it. And, go through the ropes, of course.
Yes.
You have to come to administration and get it stamped along with the appropriate CPC code. And you'd find that, those returning nationals, all of the youth stuff, they would get free. And what we found is that over the years, for example, nobody's going to return home to Nevis with a stove, for example, a 4-burner stove that maybe 2 or 3 of the burners aren't working. So you could have a stove, and we recognize too that you may have a TV and you may have a cracked screen somewhere in the diaspora. So you would get a television or 2, and this has been the practice. So I don't think that is really anything new. In terms of the small businesses, more is more, and I'm advocating for more incentives for the business owners, but they would get the import duty off of this small business, and the government would have also said that if you have you want to import a vehicle that is to be used for the business. For example, you might be in farming, you don't expect to bring in a Rolls-Royce car.
It must be fit for purpose.
Right, exactly. So you'd probably want to maybe import a pickup, and you would get the necessary concessions. So that has already been in place, Mr. Brennan, to the listeners.
Yeah, you speak to our vehicles, custom duty exemption on the importation into Nevis of vehicles, whether for personal or business, which is what you have highlighted. The exemption applies also if the vehicle is purchased locally. I think that is slightly different, or that is an added incentive. But here is a little additional caveat to that. If the vehicle is sold in St. Kitts and Nevis within 3 years of importation or local purchase, then customs duty will become payable. It went on to say customs duty exemption on the importation into Nevis of construction materials for any residential, commercial or mixed use building construction being undertaken in Nevis. I know we also have we had the first time home builders initiative, and these are, in my mind, an extension to some of those initiatives. The exemption applies also if materials are purchased locally as well. So custom duty exemption on the import and into Nevis of furniture and fittings for residential or business use. And again, the exemption also applies if furniture and fittings are purchased locally. So what I like about how this is crafted is, if you are really a returning national, and let's say, for example, you come and you make the case that you are returning national, and you come with your 2, quote unquote, as we would say in local parlance, with your 2 empty hands, and you are willing to buy a vehicle, you are willing to buy furniture, and if you are with the exemption basically still applies. Now, of note is some of the specialized area where we are trying to, quote unquote, entice our people out there to come back and start businessing. Some of those specialized area specialized medical care with emphasis on diagnostic services, in the area of information technology and ICT development, technological and vocational skills development training, hotel and resort development, light manufacturing, professional services including accounting, auditing, construction management and architecture, call or contact center operations, agro-processing, agriculture, recycling and waste disposal, alternative or green energy consultations, sales and installations. And why that package? Because again, we are looking and thinking at developing our small island sustainable state, and those areas are areas that I feel will tie into some of what Naya has been saying, that we need to see certain types of development. And this initiative, I believe, is trying to target some of those skill set areas to try and encourage people to return to help us to develop and build our country. Naya.
But also there is a minimum amount.
Yes, $100,000 US.
100,000 US.
Start.
Well, there's a bit of loose. It's pretty loose.
It's a start.
It's a start. It's pretty open. And it's pretty small, really.
You think so?
Yes, because the average house now costs $350,000. The low-income house them cost all that kind of money, $350,000 and thing. Am I not right?
Yeah, it's up there.
You know, so it is very encouraging. Put it that way.
Okay.
It is very, very encouraging. Makes me want to go away and stay out for 10 years. That's a long time, you know, and come back. But information given by government workers must be precise, because me have an experience, don't want to stay on that too long. Because when I was coming back home, I call and somebody say, oh, after 5 years, so me come. And when I arrived, they tell me it's 10 years, and we had a little problem over by the customs. But anyway, that's in the past. So it's very encouraging. It's very encouraging, and I can see some people wishing that, you know, they were probably not here but there to come back. And I hope it really gets some traction, you know, because 100,000. It's pretty loose, you know. Wouldn't it be?
What do you mean by 100,000 is loose? I'm not.
Well, no, not the minimum. I'm talking about the whole package. You know, I'm wondering if it shouldn't have some bit of tightening up. You know, like. Having companies form there, and as opposed to come here to form a company to do such things.
Oh, so you would have preferred that if the returning national had already had an established company?
Yes, not already have an established company, but have or show, you know, something to be more convincing that when you come, such things would be taking place. You know, such investment, such area of work or investment would be taking place, because it's pretty open. It's pretty open. Yeah, I mean, you can see people simply just coming home to come home's sake. I mean, that is also welcome, because we're talking about bringing back people to Nevis. So that is also a plus, put it that way. But maybe one should have been able to show something which would be more convincing, that on returning we would just be basically effectuating a plan that's already been forwarded to the government, and have, you know, things in place that the government can be very much convinced that such things would be taking place on return of this, you know, this group of people, or this particular company, this particular initiative. But as I said, it's really down to minimum in terms of the hurdles. There's no hurdles to me. It's just almost like an open door, and all the goodies are inside, and so people would come and hopefully they would make use of the goodies and contribute in an effective way to the development of the island, because that's what you're looking for. As I said, even to me, even people returning to Nevis, even if they're not getting into business or anything else, to me it's a plus, because we need a stronger population here, and anybody come, of course, would affect various areas of the economy and so forth. But it's good. I can't really knock it at all.
This initiative have received the stamp of approval from Conrad Naya Library.
It has received the stamp of approval with
some reservation.
With some reservation. Because as I say, I use the word loose because I can see it can be, to use the word exploited by some, and but we all agree that anyone who is coming back is a plus to the island at this point in time. That's the way I feel about it. But it's a great initiative. It's a part of the creative thinking that is necessary to boost the little economy. And I say kudos to the administration. And I hope that this is being, heard in the circles abroad, really, in a big way, in a big way. But to me, somehow it feels like on a global level, things are very uncertain. At this point, it feels like it's difficult. It's a difficult time for people to decide to move, really, and infrastructure must be in place here. We got good water. The electricity here is doing good enough. We got roads extending to throughout the country, and so it's just about the professional approach coming from us here on island. As I say, the red tape, and just make it more accommodative, more easier to establish, because I think the infrastructure is there, really.
All right, Naya, Raja, I'm going to have you to ask you to hold for a moment while we go to a brief commercial break.
City Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughan Radio. Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
We are back, and I want to invite our listeners, if you have any thoughts on the topic that is being discussed, you are free to call us at 469-1616 or 469-1700. Roger.
Yes, Mr. Branham, thank you. just wanted to chime in on this as Naya was speaking about his return to Nevis and the misinformation that he might have received. Some persons, for some reason, they get mixed up and confused with returning nationals and movement of people.
Free movement.
Movement of people, not free movement. Okay. Not free movement. Movement of persons.
Example.
I'm going to give an example. As I said earlier, if to be qualified for returning national, you must be a national who are living abroad for 10 or more years. And in that you can get certain new things fully exempted from duties and taxes. Now with the movement of persons, you might have went to college maybe for 3 years, 4 years, and you are returning now, or you might have been living abroad for 9 years, 8 years, 7 years, whatever the time frame might have been. But in this setup now, you would only get exempted, full exemption on stuff that are used. Nothing that is new would be a part of that. As I said earlier, with the example of the returning national, I spoke about the burnt out stove, and you might bring a new stove. In this particular movement of persons, you would only get stuff, you would only get full exemption on stuff that are used. That's the difference. And persons get mixed up all the time and confused with it for some reason or the other.
But I like the idea, Mr. Brown, of the establishment of a special unit. I think that's very important to me. That you can really have that specialization dealing with, and I hope there's enough people that show interest that make the unit worthwhile to be established. Is the government going to give them any money?
Give who any money? The person working in that unit?
No, the person coming back. You have a pool that you can shop into.
If the government is going to give them any money to do what, start up their business and so on and so forth? No, that's not a part of this incentive package. If someone is returning and is desirous of starting their own business, it is expected that we are hoping that they will be able to bring their own cash, one, and if they don't have cash in hand, that they can access those financing through local financial institution.
Okay.
The government is not necessarily injecting cash into this initiative.
Sure. That was just a question.
The idea is that we will be foregoing some revenues.
Without money.
Yeah, we are foregoing revenues at the point of entrance.
Yes.
With the hope that they can stimulate some employment in the construction sector, can create some additional expansion in some of the services that we offer here on the island. So
yes,
directly, no direct cash from the government. Gentlemen, we have been at it for a while. Any other areas that we want to give some consideration to?
I don't know, Mr. Brand, but I might have read somewhere that the Trump administration, are doing mass deportation, and I want to believe that I would have read somewhere that amongst those, earmarked to be deported are some 68 for St. Kitts Nevis. Now, I want to believe a population as small as ours here in St. Kitts Nevis, and if we were to get 68 deportees, and mind you, I am not saying that those who might be on the list are criminals, but it might very well be that some are criminals. And God forbid if half of those were to be criminals, I can see it would almost be like St. Kitts Nevis would be flooded with criminals. I don't know how we look at it. It might just be persons who are, undocumented and, don't have the correct papers and stuff like that coming back.
But that's a crime, right?
Well,
being in America illegally is a crime.
Of course, in any country.
in any country.
In any country. And when they return to the native land, they should go through due process in terms of immigration, police, etc.
They should.
Yes.
Gentlemen, it's a real concern. And Roger, you raise a particular scenario / possibility that I believe that every single country on the face of this planet is giving some thought to those kind of scenarios. We here in St. Kitts and Nevis over the last 10, 15, 20 years have been wrestling with this element of crime and criminality in our community. And I feel that while we as a people have always sought to get a handle on this particular issue, what you have just highlighted, Roger, adds a different dimension to how the quote-unquote the security forces the now have to look at some of those possibilities. I would say to you though that if a Kitishana Nivision national is being deported from the United States, that person is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, and the country has every right to accept that citizen. Now, while we have that right to accept our citizens, we also have a right for all of its citizens to live in peace and live in harmony with each other in a peaceable way. I remember, I believe that it was in the, and I stand to be corrected, I believe it was Reagan first Bush era, when they had a similar policy where a number of persons were deported from the United States to a lot of countries, including St. Kitts and Nevis and including other Caribbean territories. And I've always felt that the landscape of these Caribbean countries were changed because of that policies. It was a new phenomenon for a lot of these countries who now had to deal with certain type of individuals within their country that they were not accustomed to. We are hoping that this will not be a repeat of that, but we have had the real lessons of this type of situation happening before. I believe that all of the countries in this region are wiser because of that experience, and I believe that all of these countries must, even before President Trump became president and what he was saying, started to put certain mechanism and certain protocols in place. If it is that we have citizens, and you say the number of 68 residing in the US, and they are there illegally, they are still citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. I hope that if for one reason or the other they are deported, I am one who believes that here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I believe it came up in the Premier's press conference today, a lot of these abandoned buildings around in St. Kitts and Nevis, some of those persons who are residing in some of these lands have left their property, left their parents' property and it's just there left abandoned. If we get 68 or even 168, perhaps now some of those property can be utilized to be habitable again. Because I mean, I drive around and you see it's just a lot of bush that covering some of these property. You go in and you can clean them out and do a little renovation and so on and fix them up and things like that. It is a concern, and you have all kind of rodents and those kind of things that is creating some health concerns for us. So, Roger, it's a real concern. It is something that I know that every single government in the Western Hemisphere is paying attention to. Every single government, not only in the Western Hemisphere, throughout the globe really, is paying attention to this particular issue, because it can have a real impact on countries. And let us not kid ourselves that we have had this experience before. It's coming back at us again, and I think that we now need to be able to be better prepared to deal with it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if and you can correct me, if the experience we had before was exactly like this one, just people being undocumented, being sent home, or these before our experience was what we refer to as deportee, people who has committed crime and was in jail. When they come out, they send them home.
Yeah, slightly different.
Yeah, slightly different, and that in the past was more scary, because some hardcore criminals came back to the Caribbean, and some of them came to our shores, and some of them come to other Caribbean shores and make their way to Nevis, and to think it's in the Federation, you know. But I say welcome home, man. You know, for those who have been undocumented and was discovered by ICE or whoever in America and being sent to, welcome home, you know, because you may realize if you give it a try, you're better off here, you know, to be quite honest. Sometimes there's all kind of reason why we find ourselves in America almost on the street, and you miss one payment, a weekly payment, and you find yourself homeless and so forth. Welcome home, and we are here to make you feel at home and become one of us. I think we have a real problem here in Nevis with the population, you know. I do feel so, and I hope that people in authority can think seriously about that, to encourage the growth of families, to encourage the birth of children here in Nevis. I don't know how to put it, but somebody else might find a better way to put it. But I say encourage the growth of family. I don't know if government have any incentive or think along that lines. You know, because that's what Trump into. You know, Trump want to see Americans get more kids in America today, and I want to see Nevisians get more babies. You know, I want to see, because it's not happening. You know, even the concept of marriage is not happening, and when I say, you know, we just need to see that, because you see, now that Trump is in, we might see a less brain drain taking place. Less brain drain, is that a correct term? Yeah, taking place, and that is important to me. I think too much of our good people, like I was talking to two professionals the other day. These are agriculture guys who is in agriculture in the States in a big way, and they said the monkey problem ain't no problem. They can solve that pretty easy, you know. And I say, what are you guys talking about? I mean, this is a major thing here on island. I mean, everybody's we can't get no foods to eat. Nevis is full of salsa. I buy a salsa there at $10 a pound. Look, let me tell you guys something, man. If we can really enhance, right, this salsa thing here on Nevis and so forth, it can be something that we can do something with in a very serious way. You know, I mean, soursop is a fruit that is known to have some serious medical properties, and Nevis have more soursop tree than mango tree. A lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean?
They're all over.
You know, but the monkeys and these two agriculture professionals think it's a joke. I mean, that is the easiest thing to do, and I'm saying what you
So
guys need to talk to.
You took their numbers?
Well, I know them good. I know them very good. I know them very good. One of them man is a professor at University of Florida, all over the world actually.
I think I know who the person is.
In entomology, but those guys think that the monkey thing is an easy problem to solve. And I said, man, you guys need to talk to somebody in Nevis, you know. Talk to somebody in the government, because, you know, I'm saying all this to say that we suffer from this brain drain thing in a very, very, very serious way. We got serious. I mean, last week we listened to the lady, Dawn Liebert, and I read somewhere, is it you was paying tribute to a lady in Long Island who is the first?
Eric. I think
Was it Eric? Well, was it Eric? So we got people with brain, you know. We got people who can commit themselves to solving problems here, and of course we lose them because they go to America and they're paid so highly over there, and they don't come back. And we got to find ways of really generating that consciousness, that nationalism back again, that kind of responsibility, you know what I mean? So, but I'm not saying Trump is right with what he's doing, but what I'm saying that whatever it takes to make our people return to Nevis or stay in Nevis after, or return to Nevis after being, you know, study abroad and everything else, is very important. And I want to see the population of this little island increase. I want to see the girls becoming more pregnant. I know you, Mr. Ban, probably think that this doesn't sound too good because for whatever reason. But I would like to see that, because we must see the growth of our local population. I mean, is there any incentive coming from your administration, Mr. Ban, in that respect?
For growth of the family?
Growth of the family, more pregnancy, more kids being born, and these type of stuff. And you know what is very important too? I want to see them born in Nevis. You know, there's one time when there was no baby born in Nevis. You know, as sinkers, people used to go for a time. And believe me, some white folks born the baby right here, up in the Alexander Hamilton Hospital. While we locals used to go to Sinkers. You know, we need to, this to me is fundamental. Because we can't see we can't be too short-sighted, you know. And that's a great problem we're dealing with here. Short-sightedness in terms of investment, you know. And one time I hear you said, Mr. Brand, that you would like to see, you know, some kind of structure that is long-term. It's very important. It's very important to me because, you know, back in the days in different countries, you know, people put things in place, even though they know they won't live to see it, you know, impact on the economy, impact on the society, but they put things in place, you know what I mean? And sometimes we really think too short term, and if it's not going to happen in 5 years, we're not going to do it, you know, and so we tend to lose out on a lot of potential investment ideas. I mean, one of the ideas I had, and trust me, from the time I've been on this program until now, Nevis probably would have been a big producer of mahogany wood. Because I always say, mahogany is a tree that grows naturally in our environment. You just throw down a seed and it grows. And you go down to TDC and those places, one little piece costs $1,000. And to me, a 15-year-old field of mahogany, it's not a bad thing.
Millions.
Eh? It's not a bad thing.
Can I?
And what can spring from that in terms of the skill set, and it's almost like a revolution in that field, you know. But somehow we just think of things that can happen within the election cycle, and it just doesn't work.
Can I
I'm going to go to Roger and then come back to you.
Can I say two things based on what Naya said? One might be very controversial, but I would start with the monkeys. I believe that the soil in Nevis is well fertile. I think that it's good soil. We go back in history, and if I'm correct, Nevis was once and probably still is, the Queen of the Caribbean, and that name came about because how they produce and the quality of the sugar cane that we once produced because of our fertile lands. So I believe that if we were to get the monkeys under control, we could plant and sustain ourselves and of course export. So that is something that I think, Naya, that we ought to look into more, and you can get your very good friends to speak with those in authority to get that moving. You spoke about persons getting pregnant, but I just want to throw in this as you said that. I think is in Iraq, a law was passed just recently that 9-year-old girls now could be married. So I just thought I would just throw in that to.
That's criminalism.
But it's law.
If I would use that kind of
But
language.
it is law in Iraq.
Ain't that me talk about them?
I know, of course I know, but I just tried it.
Roger, you sure you said that?
Of course.
I
You can do this.
I am not saying that you are telling that, but I want to see that information
And
myself.
of course, at 9 years old, you in the same Iraq, you can't drive, you can't vote, but you could marry. And of course, a 9-year-old will be in primary school. That's to me personally, I think that's ridiculous. But hey,
It is ridiculous.
Nish? Population growth, Naya. I believe that it is something that we continue to speak about in terms of seeing our population grow. I believe that if we take a serious and hard look at our island and the sustainability of the island, of course our population is creating some challenge in terms of the size of our population. I believe that we continue to do certain things in anticipation of growth in population. We continue to develop some of those institutions and infrastructures that we are hoping that if we were to see, let me not say if, but when we see an increase in the population, we can absorb the shock, so to speak. You use a kind of term there that girls getting. While I agree that we would like to see, quote unquote, more babies, I would hope that it can be in a nice family structure where I would not support or be a proponent of young ladies just going and get babies just for the sake of getting. I would hope that it can be done responsibly with a responsible father,
Yeah.
and both parents can give some good value and good instruction in terms of
Yes, of course.
raising their children. I feel that for me that is perhaps the foundation in which we can continue to see this sustainability in the growth of our country. This initiative in terms of the returning national and diaspora is trying to carve out a niche, so to speak, in trying to, along that same line, create some increase in our population. I believe that if we were to get even 100, I'm just picking a number. If we were to get 100 of our citizens to return to Nevis, and each one of them were to invest in Nevis $500,000 US and create a small business and build a home and tap into our water system, our electricity system, pay some taxes and so on and so forth, hire 1 or 2 persons, you can see the multiplying effect. And you can see how we can help to stimulate, and it might create that added bonus of encouraging other persons to return home. So this initiative, Naya, is also geared towards trying to help grow the population. Not in the kind of way of increasing the birth rate in an instant, but if you can get, like I said, 100 over the next 12 to 18 months, and then you have that multiplying effect within a number of years, we can see the impact that it can have. And I think that this is one of those strategies that we are using to try and see if we can stimulate that growth and expansion in our population. You raised the issue of monkeys. It's a long-standing issue that I know that many governments have wrestled with over the years. You have now put something on the table, and perhaps that's a conversation that I think that we must have with that individual, because I feel that you are correct. We have persons in the diaspora who can offer suggestions, who can give some ideas that can help us to mitigate against some of the problems and challenges that we are facing. I would say to you that I sit in a government and in a cabinet where we don't have all of the answers. And if any government were to say to you tomorrow that they have all the answers, I would sit here tonight and tell you that they are being dishonest. They are being dishonest. And I think that if we are serious about building and developing and trying to build this kind of small island sustainable state, we must have diverse views. I'm talking about sensible views, and not just people making noise. I'm talking about sensible contribution to the challenges and issues that we are facing, and we can look at them, dissect them, and try and see how best we can implement them and mitigate against some of the challenges that we are facing. But I think that on the issue of population growth, I support it. Not necessarily the kind of perhaps language that you use, but it is something that I believe that we all should look at.
Yeah, but that also is part and parcel of it, the returning nationals, and of course, incentive towards, bigger families or, but of course, social welfare have a role to play,
yes,
in all this.
Yes.
It's a roundabout situation. It's not, people out there, just, getting pregnant just like, carelessly and foolishly, It's I think in France right now it's a priority. And of course, they have, the necessary policies in place to encourage that, really. And it's a long-term thing. It's a long-term thing because it's important to see youths. We have a population, a young population, but in between somewhere, say, 20 and 40, I think, I'm not sure if that's the area that's kind of lacking. But, what I also realize, and I tend to be jumping around a lot tonight, we need workers.
Yeah.
I symbolize many people are talking about unemployment, but I can't find nobody to work. And I talk to so many people who say the same thing.
Stick up with it.
Eh?
Stick up with
Who
it.
is saying the same thing?
You can't find nobody to work.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I talk to a lot of people who is saying the same thing.
uh-huh.
They can't find nobody to work.
So if I
Or reliable workman.
uh-huh.
Because the pool is not there that you can pick and choose and get, you know.
So
I mean,
is
this
it-
unemployment thing,
is it that- is it
to
that-
me, it's not happening here.
Is
you
it,
know what I
is,
mean?
is it that you can't find nobody to work, or everybody is working that they don't have, that so much is happening that that there is
Well,
little unemployment on the island of Nevis?
I don't think there's big unemployment in Nevis.
Well,
At all. You know, I'm being honest because too many times, I mean, come on, I talk to people every day. You know, today I talk to 3 people tell me the same thing. They can't find nobody to work. You know, because it's got to be reliable
yes.
workman, you know. And outside of that, there still isn't that amount of people. You know, I don't see employment. I'll be frank. Employment, you know, is a problem in Nevis.
Employment or unemployment? Both ways, either way.
Well,
I don't see employment. I'm trying to say that Nevis have good employment.
Mr.
You
Brown,
understand? Unemployment is not a problem in Nevis.
Mr.
Well, as far as I check. You understand? As far as I check. I do not know if they gravitate towards certain employment, maybe what they call white collar or what, and they can't get it and they say, well, I'm unemployed. But to me, in a general sense, unemployment is not a problem here.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
if I can chime in, probably persons are looking for their quote-unquote job of choice.
Particular job, a
Yes.
specific job.
If we are to look carefully over the years, we would realize that Nevis, let me speak to Nevis, you know, we are really short on workers.
Yeah.
If we were to look at the police force, for instance, we would realize over the years a number of police officers are non-nationals. They are from other parts of the Caribbean, mostly the Windward Islands. If we are now supposed to look at the health industry, nurses, a number of our nurses are from other lands.
All over.
And if they are coming and they are working, of course we are happy. But what I'm saying, that those spaces are gaps. If we were so much, if the unemployment rate would have been so high, then is it that we as Nevisians think it's kitty nivy? Are we saying that we don't want that particular feel of work? Or are we saying that it is probably not good enough for us to keep the peace, for us to take care of our own? I believe that, you know, this, we have to create a culture, and it would go back as far back as, you know, in the home. How do we speak to our children? You know, how we guide them in school? How do we guide them their career path? I believe that too often, so many of us would have been through the school, system, and even at 5th form, 6th form, we still do not know what career path we want to take. Sometimes we even go to college and we just probably go and we say we quote unquote want a degree, and we go and we probably get a degree without knowing, what, at least at this point in time, and not just at this point in time, but beyond, what are the real needs of the island, of the country. Do we want more doctors? Do we want more lawyers? Do we want more computer tech personnel and stuff like that? So I believe that, we have to mold our children, we have to guide them. I think that persons, maybe what the sector is, Naya? It's eluding me. But, they need guidance. I don't know if you would agree with me, Naya.
Well, in the guidance, and once upon a time I thought the guidance counseling in the school was supposed to do that, but it seems like they're dealing with more problems in the school than anything. A guidance counsel, I thought that a guidance counsel would be the person in the school who tends to recognize or help you to realize or recognize the part you want to take in terms of your occupation going forward and assist you in that. But it seemed like I was wrong. Guidance counselors deal with the problems and the troubled kids and so forth. But that's important. But in Nevis, you might want to be, say, a school teacher, but you might find yourself working in a hotel. And that is just, what interim, because if you really want to be a school teacher, you will prepare yourself, work towards it, I mean, when I go to the bank often, I always ask those young tellers, when are you going to go to study? Because they're just there. That's why they change so fast. They come out of school, they go be a teller in the bank, and then 1 year they're gone. And I like that because they're going to prepare themselves for what they want to become. But the thing is, a lot of them don't come back. But I always try to encourage young people to go and get that knowledge and recognize the paths you want to take going forward.
Gentlemen, I believe that the time has fast left us. It's a few minutes onto the 10 o'clock hour. I want to take this opportunity to thank our many listeners for allowing us into their homes and for this, what I call a very wonderful discussion here tonight. I want to remind the listeners that this program is rebroadcast tomorrow at 10 a.m. and please join the Honorable Mark Brantley at 8 p.m. tomorrow for the On The Mark show. Who wants the last word?
Well, Mr. Brand, what I would say is that we in the Zion area, we in the process of taking down the Christmas theme park, and there are some heavy items that are still erected, and we really need some help, to take them down. Yes, and if you can come out on Saturday morning, maybe around 10:30, 11, we'll be grateful, for your assistance in taking down those stuff.
All right. Well, that's our show, and a very pleasant good evening, and have a restful night, everyone. And gentlemen, get home safely. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Expressed on the preceding program was solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.